when you are doing something that maybe you haven't done or you long to do regarding money that someone who financially successful would do.
I loved the quote that you said, that success is what you said you would do, but with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. It's when you combine these four in such a beautiful way that you can achieve it whilst not being an unfulfilled entrepreneur or
yes,
high performer.
Yes, exactly.
But actually by being your happiest, right? Not just the most productive. So the first thing that pops to mind is, you say how we do money is how we do life. What do you mean by that?
Fuad, I love the question, and if we had 5 hours, we could go into it in depth. But let me just say that, look, there are 6 kinds of energy that we're here to use in life. There's the energy of money, and money is just energy. It's not, there's no thing. You know, Fuad, if you and I lived 200 years ago, we could hold some gold in our hands and say, this is money. But now it's just a blip on a computer screen, just an electrical blip. But the first energy is the energy of money. Then we have the energy of time. And as you know, time and money are very linked, aren't they? I'll tell you, years ago when I started leading workshops, people would say to me, Dr. Maria, I don't have the money to do it right now. But now what? They say, I don't have the time. And they're linked. Do you see it? That's the next energy is physical vitality. That means having a relationship with your body that ensures that you're going to be around for a while. The next is the energy of creativity. And we all know that creativity is an energy like, how do I get around this obstacle with the greatest ease? The next energy is the energy of enjoyment. And I tell you, if you do what you enjoy, that's prosperity, isn't it? And then finally, the energy of relationship, meaning that you and I are not here in our lives to do things alone. We're here to support one another in relationship. Just as I am thrilled that you invited me to be on this program, and you and I in our relationship can create something of value for your listeners. So the bottom line is this. The reason I say how you do money is how you do life, is that your relationship with money affects all those other energies. And are you stingy with time, or are you generous with time? You see that? Are you stingy with your money, or are you generous with your money? So, since money is only energy, how you relate to this one form of energy, of course, affects how you relate to all those other energies in your life.
That's the beautiful way that you put it. Can you give us an example of that in real life?
Sure. Well, I remember coaching someone who was an entrepreneur, business owner. And he said, I am really worried about money. Sometimes I'm anxious. He said, Dr. Maria, it's not that I'm not making money. It's just that for some reason, the more I make, the more I worry about it. And he says that affects my relationship with my wife and my children. And, this worry about money is affecting even how I feel physically. So the question is, where they've taken they've taken surveys. They've what? And they've discovered that, at least in the U.S., the number one thing people worry about is what?
Money.
Money. Money. And it affects the whole life. Now, if you were, as I coached him, to see that, wouldn't it be better for him to focus on, instead of worrying about money, focus on where he can contribute things in life? For example, are there any causes that he wanted to contribute to? And then he saw, wow, this is allowing me to even think about contributing more to my family and myself. And, it's affecting how I contribute to my own physical health. So you see, it's possible to shift the focus of your attention away from your anxiety about money to something that's far more fulfilling. Because, look, I said to myself at one point, I when I was 50 years old, I had a birthday cappuccino. I took myself out for a cappuccino. And I was thinking about my life, and I was thinking about my issues and my anxieties. And all of a sudden, something flashed. And I said, wait, what do I want on my tombstone? Here lies Maria. She was worried about money. Is that what I want to be known for? And I said, no. What I want is the same thing that everyone wants. What? Here lies Maria. She loved us. We loved her. And life was a little bit better because she was in it. Isn't that worth focusing on? So it really changed something for me in that moment, because I could see I could run the rest of my life worried about money, about time, about my physical vitality, about my relationship, worried, or I could shift and focus my attention to what difference do I want to make in these areas, really?
I remember once, I don't know where I saw this, but it said to close the door of your room and to do a death meditation where you just act like you're dead, right? And then once you fully visualize like the funeral, everyone that's there, your life was done, and you look back at how was your life and what you wish you would have changed, the people you wish you would have cared for more, the things you would have wished to do, right? And I sat down after the meditation, I wrote everything down, and I looked at it and I'm like, okay, now it's time to actually embody that, because I've realized when I was at the hospital, for me is especially when it's the place of the most truth, especially when there's someone that's close to death, because it makes you realize the important things, right? All the rest falls away.
Yeah. Yes.
And you realize what counts, and it's such a beautiful thing.
It is, because you're speaking to the heart of what I aim for with people, which is to live without regrets. And right now, if there's something you regret, what can you do to fix it? I remember a woman who said, well, I'm 55 years old now. I really wanted to be able to be a speed skater. I ski very fast and around moguls, And she said, I don't know if I can do that now. When I was 25 years old, or 35, or even 45, but here I'm 55. And if I were to injure myself, I would be slower to heal. So she said, I really regret this, Dr. Maria. Then I said, look, I really understand that, but let's say that you can put something in place of skiing, something you can do right now. That's a stretch for you. What would it be? And for her, it was really interesting. She said, I want to learn how to ride a horse.
Mm.
I want to learn how to be comfortable riding a horse. I've always wanted to ride horses, but here where I live, she lived in Philadelphia, so it's very hard to go out and find, place. So she ended up going to we call them here dude ranches, where they have horses and they take people out on rides, and she just did it, and she was so happy because it had replaced something that she regretted that she hadn't done. Now, think about people. Are there people who, right now, if you were to die, just like you said, you would regret that you didn't reach out to?
Mm.
Write a list of these people. Right now, don't wait. Write a list and see what you want to do. Do you want to reach out to them? Do you want to call them? You want to send them a little card? What is it that you want to do? But do it now so that when you look back on your life at any moment, any moment, there are no regrets. That's the life worth living, isn't it?
There's something really beautiful in your book. You talked about the standards of integrity. And I believe everyone, to some extent, needs those anchors, right? Your values, your core authentic values, the key word here being authentic. Because you repeat that a lot, the fact that you should stop pretending to be something you're not, right?
Yeah.
We're so used to being impregnated with other people's values of social media, society, friends, family, etc. Okay. That we're not authentic to our own selves and what we really want. So how do we get clear on our values that feel really genuine?
Well, I'll tell you, once again, I wish we had a long period of time so I could do a real rundown on how to do this. My later book called Mastering Life's Energies, I think makes it easier to do. But look, this is how to do it. Make a list right now of at least 3 people that you admire. Okay? And go look at each person and write down what you admire about them. Are they trustworthy? Are they loyal? Are they courageous? Are they generous? What is it? What qualities? And then go to the next person and write down the qualities you admire in them. And some of them may overlap, so just put a check mark next to where they overlap. Then go down to the next person, and once again, what is it you admire about them? And put a check mark if it overlaps with previous things. So the bottom line is that you'll find that there are, in this exercise, maybe 5, maybe 6 qualities that you admire in others. Okay? Now here's the trick. This is the thing that's very difficult sometimes for people to really accept about themselves. Really look at these qualities and see that they warm your heart, that they're very important to you. And here's the final part of this. The qualities that you wrote down, this is who you are. This is you. Yes, you might admire it in other people, but let's say that I admire someone. I love the work of Mother Teresa, and one of the things I loved about her is that she was compassionate. Now, if I love someone who's compassionate, I must know what compassion is. If I tell you I love the color blue, it means I know what blue is. So if I know what compassion is, it resides in me already. There's a receptor site for it. And so you discover that these are your standards of integrity, meaning when you see that this is who you are, and that the privilege in life is living your life according to who you are. If you're compassionate, if you're wise, if you're courageous, if you're trustworthy, kind, loyal, any of these, and see the other values. But if you say that these are important to you, it means you have a receptor site for them inside. And when you act in accordance with who you are, life is sweet. You are able to, there's one woman who, she still is the head of a big company. And she says, Dr. Maria, before I have a meeting with my top executives, I have a little card with my standards. And I have it next to my computer screen. And I look at them during the meeting and I say to myself, how would someone who is compassionate, courageous, and trustworthy, how would they act right now? What would they say? And she said, when I do that, training my brain to look at what it is that defines me, and I contribute that, she said, the meetings go so quickly and easily, and people are empowered to do their best. So your standards of integrity, they represent who you are. And that's why I say, would it be okay to discover who you are and set aside everything you thought you were? Because usually what we think we are has a kind of a negative cast to it, right? And so act from your standards of integrity. Strive to, once again, contribute those, and you will be successful with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And you have this kind of 3-layer, right? You talk about the standards of integrity. If people that are listening to this, you can imagine a triangle. The foundation is the standards, right? Okay, I think we're back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So would that be accurate to say that if people were to imagine the 3 main points we're making here, like it's a triangle, right? The foundations are your standards of integrity. So basically your core values. Then there's the life intentions, right? Which are the things that you crave, your soul craves to do. Then there's the goals, right? Would that be correct to say?
Pretty much. And, life intentions are different from your standards of integrity. Life intentions have to do with who you desire to be, who you want to be known for, I should say. So, for example, they usually start out with the words to be physically fit and healthy, to be financially successful, to be a loving family member, to be an effective coach, to be an effective leader, to be a successful author, to be a successful poet. There are so many life intentions that you can look at. And as a matter of fact, I developed something called the Life's Intentions Inventory. And if people are interested, they can always contact me and I will send them a copy of the Life's Intentions Inventory for them to take. So that you see, these are the things I'm longing to be. So for example, if I long to be financially successful, then what am I going to do? What are 1 or 2 things I'm going to do to demonstrate being financially successful? They may be very simple. One woman who I talked to on an airplane just recently said, I have 3 businesses, and believe it or not, Dr. Maria, I don't have a budget, a personal budget. So she decided to demonstrate being financially successful. She was going to go on to a particular website. It's called You Need a Budget. It's a wonderful website. And she said, I'm going to join it and create a personal budget. Now, that may be very simple. And people might say, well, how can I be financially successful doing it that? Financial success happens in the moment, not in the future, when you are doing something that maybe you haven't done or you long to do regarding money, that someone who financially successful would do. For example, one woman, her name was Sally, and she allowed me to coach her many, many years ago. And she said, Dr. Maria, I don't have any money, but I want to be financially successful. She said, I want to have a financial, she said an investment portfolio. She said, I don't even know what investment portfolio means, but I want one. So she said, I am going to open up an investment portfolio account at my bank, and I'm going to save $50 a month. Now, this woman was cleaning homes, and it took a lot for her to save up $50 a month, but she did. And at the end of the year, she had $600. And I talked to her. She was so excited. She said, I'm starting to invest that $600, and now I want to save $100 a month. Well, the bottom line is this. I speak to her about 6 years later. Not only did she have an investment portfolio, but she put herself through school, and she owned a virtual assistant business. Years later, I know that she has at least 2 or 3 other businesses. Why? Because she started acting like someone who is financially successful. So financial success happens when you act in such a way that someone who is financially successful acts. Don't keep your eye on the people who are big winners and say, oh, one day maybe I'll be making millions. Well, you can. There's nothing holding you back. But first take the actions right here and now of someone who's financially successful. And you will, step by step, become that which you want to be. I hope that's a simple lesson, but I tell you, as I told you, Fuad, I've been coaching people now for 35 years, and I've seen so many people do what I'm just saying and ending up owning businesses, making the money they'd always want to make, saving it, doing things that are, that will lead to having even more of that energy of money in their life.
I respect so much the point you made about acting as if you were already that person that achieved his life's intention. Because I believe it's easy to keep the old patterns and to surrender to them. It's another thing, like for example, now in every meditation that I do, at the end, I visualize myself as the person that I want to be. And I feel it, right? I feel the compassion. I feel the joy. I feel the excitement. I allow myself to feel what I would, like my natural state, the pure oneness. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's such a beautiful thing. Now, there's one thing, to be fully honest with you, that I am not so good at. I'm not so good at committing to one life intention, right? So I have many. But to make meaningful progress, you should commit to one. And this is where I find it a bit, I don't know, maybe you might have the answers.
Oh, listen, first of all, I want to really acknowledge you for how you visualize being financially successful. And for the listeners, I want to add that in addition to that visualization, what we need to do is take action to do something. In reality, do something that will demonstrate that you are being financially successful right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as you take these actions, like, okay, what's next? And what would I do next? And look at these steps that you want to take ongoingly to be financially successful. You see, it has to happen in physical reality. And some of the problems for all of us, me intended, until I kind of woke up, is I can visualize all I want. But until I take action, until I do something, you see, to demonstrate into physical reality, demonstrate into my life that I am being financially successful because I'm taking some small, sweet steps. Until I do that, I'll never, ever be financially successful at the level that I want to be. So start small. Dream big, start small. The second thing is that on this Life's Intentions inventory, there are about 25 life's intentions on there, and you can rate them from 1 to 5, with 5 being the ones that really are important to you. Pick 2 or 3 that you're going to demonstrate over the next 6 months.
The 3 to 4 habits, you mean?
No, not habits. 2 or 3 life's intentions.
Okay.
So let's say if I desire to be a successful leader, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that scores 5 for me. And also I desire to be physically fit and healthy. That scores 5. And to be a generous friend, and that scores 5. Let's say I have, out of the 20, maybe I have 10 life intentions. There's nothing wrong with having those because this is really what's true for me. But, you see, the point is to at least try for 6 months to demonstrate, meaning to take action on at least 2 or 3 of them. Try. For example, to be a generous friend. All right? Invite your friends for a dinner. That's doing something.
Yeah.
Sending a loving note to a friend. That's doing something, you see? They're small, sweet steps, but they really, really count in the end. And so you can have all the life's intentions that you want that are really important to you. And out of all of them, pick at least a couple that you're willing to experiment with and to do something right here and right now. Because once again, we can have many intentions, but our life is governed by how we took an intention and did something with it. So you're welcome to have 10 life's intentions or more that score 5 and experiment. So once again, if people want a copy of my Life's Intentions inventory to be able to try this out, they can always get a hold of me and I'll send it to them. But the important thing is that whatever you desire to do, whatever you decide to be, you have to do something about it and start small. And you will notice that your life begins to open up for you more and more and more with each action that you take.
I can see a lot of these driven behaviors, right, that you talk about in myself, right? The busyness, the perfectionist, the avoiding the addictions,
Yes.
just to to run away from my own inner blockages and traumas and all the things that are within that I have potentially been escaping my whole life through these behaviors. So could you tell me the story of how, because there might have there's potentially a story where you hit the stove, right? You felt the fire, the suffering of those driven behaviors to create that change. How did it come about for you?
That's an interesting question. As I was developing and trying to figure out where my life was going to go, I noticed. The bottom line is, first of all, about 30 years ago, I went on a quest to really study with people who I considered to be masters in what they were doing. And I, in some cases, would literally sit at their feet and take notes on what they were saying. And I remember one individual was talking about how you want to live your life. And something came to me at that moment. There was a thought, would it be okay with me if life got easier? And so one of the things I ask other people is, would it be okay with you if life got easier? And I discovered over the years that driven behavior is something that we learn when we want to accomplish a goal or a dream, but we don't know how to do it. And so we fill our lives with all kinds of things to make us feel good, or try to make us feel good, because we don't know the way forward. And the bottom line for me came when I looked at I studied with someone who knew neurophysiology. You know, I have a PhD in psychology, and for many years, before I was a coach, I was a psychotherapist, and I also studied neurophysiology. So I began to see, after listening to this person and other people, that it could be that driven behavior is what my brain is doing because I'm not focusing my brain on what's important to me. And I could see my life, at certain moments, you can kind of jump out of your life and you see how you've been living it up until now, and how I was likely to be living it if I kept doing the same thing over and over again. And I saw the cost of doing it that way. But at the same time, I thought, well, I had this experience, and I know you've had it too, because you talked about in your meditations, experiences you've had. One of mine was that we are not our brain, that you and I have a brain. We have 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, and a brain. We are that which has the capacity to train our brain, to shift our brain, to refocus our brain. Mm-hmm. And I saw in that moment that the brain that you and I have sometimes acts like a little child. And it grabs for things because no one is focusing it. Okay? And so at that moment I said, well, what do I want to focus my brain on? What do I want to teach it to do? And that opened up a whole world for me where I saw that I have to take care of this brain. You know, research has shown that our brain, Fuad, has not changed much in 100,000 years. And 100,000 years ago, our brain did its best to try to keep us safe because we had predators outside. And as a matter of fact, you and I are descendants of people from those 100,000 years ago. And if the brain hasn't changed, what is it that we want our brain to be doing for us? Now, I'm going to give you a thought experiment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you and I are in a tribe 100,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago even, okay? 50,000 years ago. And we decide that we're hungry and we want to go outside of our cave to get some food. As we step outside of that cave, what's the first thing your brain is going to look for?
Danger.
Yes, predators, danger, because our brain, what has been engineered to look for danger before looking for opportunities or pleasure, because frankly, they said, these researchers, that the people whose brain didn't look for danger first, we were the people who said, we better prepare because there might be a tiger outside. But there were some people who said, oh, I don't think there's a tiger, I'm going to go anyway. And those people got eaten. So you and I are descendants of people who had an anxious brain, always looking for danger. Scientists call it the negativity response. Now, why am I saying this in response to everything you talked about in terms of driven behavior? Well, driven behavior is what happens when your brain has not been properly focused on what you really want out of life. So it's going to look for all kinds of ways to keep you out of danger. And, sometimes driven behavior is the result of that. So I discovered that focusing my brain on what truly mattered to me, do I want to live a life in which on my tombstone it's like, here lies Maria, she was anxious, or here lies Maria, she had issues. Is that what I want to be known for? Because most of us, I have to say, most of us have had trauma. Most of us have had a difficult time early in life. I don't know in the I've actually seen people for 55 years now, because at the beginning, 20 years as a psychologist and then 35 years as a coach. You'd be amazed at how many of us, people like you and me, people like your listeners, have gone through some trauma in life. And number one, if that trauma needs to be healed, then you take it to someone who can help you heal, and that would be a psychotherapist. Okay? However, if you see that although you've had trauma in your life, you don't want to be known for that person. Like, here's Maria, she had trauma. Then how do you want to live your life? And it opens up a whole new world of possibility where you train your brain. And that is how I developed my definition of success, which I'm happy to talk to you about in a couple minutes. But I want to stress to everyone that you have to decide, have I experienced trauma that I know needs to be healed, then I take it to a therapist. If I know I've had trauma, and yet I want to refocus my brain now, then you learn, you may want to have a coach, number one, or you can use my formula for success, which will help you retrain your brain. It's all up to us. You see that, Fuad? You and I have a moment of decision where we can decide how we want to live the rest of our lives. Because if I spend the next few years dealing with the traumas from my past, that's what I'm going to end up with. Someone who dealt with the traumas of the past at the expense of focusing on who she's willing to be now. I hope I'm making sense.
Mm-hmm. It's all linking up so well. So the first section we talked about clarity, right? We hit on the standards of integrity, your values. Then we move to your life intentions, right? So focusing on what is it that your soul really craves. And then actually being the person, acting in a way that's aligned with that. And now to get to the place where we're talking about, it's beautiful how it all lines up to the fact that you can go through the clarity, through the focus, yet there's this beautiful aspect of ease and grace that come to the entire equation. So I want to ask you, how do you turn an idea that's metaphysical into reality, so the physical, with the most amount of ease?
Well, so let's, if I might, let me go back and restate the definition of success, which is doing what you said you would do. Success is doing what you said you would do consistently with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Where clarity is about what you and I talked about, being clear about what's important to you. Focus is about focusing your brain on what's important to you. Okay, and we have our standards of integrity, and I gave a short little exercise on that. We have our life's intentions, and I told you that, I have this inventory, but even if I don't, I gave some examples of life's intentions. Learning how to focus your brain on what's important to you. And the reason I say that so clearly is because now we have more distractions for our brain than we've ever had. I mean, when I see over the past 50 years, 25 years, 30 years ago, we didn't have something called phones, our iPhones. We didn't have computers. It's amazing. When I did my dissertation, I had to do, it was called punching keys because it was a card reader. And this computer, you'd have to buy computer time at the university. And so my computer time was like between 3 and 4 a.m., where they fed my cards into the computer and the analyses came out. I mean, this was like a huge thing in terms of reams of paper. So now we have so much that, if you want to get in touch with someone very quickly, you can pick up the phone and call them around the world. Just a few years ago, if you wanted to get in touch with someone quickly, you sent them something called a telegram. So there's so much more distractions that we have now than we had even a few years ago. And I say that over and over again because to focus your brain, one has to do it over and over again. It's like training a dog. Seriously, your brain, you may have brilliant thoughts, but your brain acts in a very simple way. And I know you know all about that because that's how you have gotten to be as great as you already are. So ease is about learning how to take small, sweet steps. Whatever you decide to do, don't be driven. Don't try to rush at it so quickly that you get exhausted. And then when you get exhausted, you get worried. You might get bitter. You might hear your brain saying to you, there's really a tiger there. Why don't we stop? No, brain, I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to take small, sweet steps so I don't get exhausted. There's something called Kaizen, which was a kind of a philosophical principle that was introduced into Japan after the Second World War, when everything was destroyed. And some business leaders from the U.S. came, and one of them decided, why don't we put the focus on Kaizen to help these corporations build? And this is what Kaizen is all about. Let's say you have a group of 25 people, or 250 people, or 2,500 people. It doesn't matter. Kaizen means that you ask each and every person, to do one small thing today that makes the business better. One small thing. And to report what it is you did. And they found that day by day by day, when the group took these small, sweet steps, the businesses began to flourish again, because they didn't look at what are the huge things that we have to surmount, because there were huge things in Japan. Things were just absolutely obliterated. But when they learned how to take small, sweet steps with Kaizen, they would bring these businesses back time and time again. So I say, let's apply the principle of Kaizen to our own life. What is one small, sweet thing I'm willing to do today to be financially successful, as we talked about? What is one small thing I'm willing to do today to be a generous friend? You see, in taking small, sweet steps, we don't get the pushback from our brain. It kind of goes under the brain's natural negativity response that says, no, get back in the cave. It's too dangerous out here. That's all. When you hear those negative voices in your head, I want everyone who's listening to consider the possibility that those negative voices are not bad. They're just your brain being scared to go outside of the cave that it normally has lived in. So those negative voices are a sign that you're doing something new and original that you haven't done before. And so rather than being something you've got to worry about, that you have to address, that you have to think about, why am I so afraid right now? Why am I, the thing is this, you're afraid because you're doing something new. And the brain is just telling you that. That's the negativity response. It's telling you everything that could go wrong. Or it's telling you there could be predators behind each and every bush here. So with that in mind, I'm going to say something very unusual. We learn to become compassionate with our brain. Because the thing is 100,000 years old. It hasn't changed in 100,000 years old. And the only thing that really changed was that around 9,000 years, we developed blue eyes. But up until that point, seriously, that's the biggest thing. that happened to our brain about 9,000 years ago. So why am I saying all this? Well, ease. Ease is all about recognizing that. And when you have compassion for your brain, and, you can say to your brain, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know you're afraid, and it's okay. We're going to continue to go. This is what people do. I mean, look, did Nelson Mandela dwell on his negative thoughts? No, he didn't. And that's why the people who had jailed him for 27 years, they had to change the jailers every 3 months because they ended up liking him because he wasn't focused on the negativity response. He was focusing on making a contribution. I mean, think of any great leader and ask yourself, the Mahatma Gandhis in the world, the Dalai Lamas, the Mother Teresas, look at anyone who for you is a true hero because they contributed something. Okay? Did they think a lot about their negativity response? No, they were too busy taking action. And so we get to the final thing, which is grace. And the definition of grace boils down to this: being willing to see the blessings that are already in your life. Being willing to see whatever it is that is working, not what is not working. First, if you want to become successful with ease, look right now and make a list of the things that are working in your life. Okay? And in order to continue that, I suggest people a very simple practice, which is this: keep a very, very small book by the side of your bed, and every night list 3 things that you're grateful for. Now, this is the trick. Don't talk about generalities. I'm grateful because I have a loving family. Yes, absolutely. Should be grateful. But look at an experience. I'm grateful that my daughter smiled at me today. I'm grateful that I walked outside and could see some beautiful clouds in the moment. Take a look at what it is that you're grateful for that really happened today, because it's in that experience that you will experience grace. It's hard to experience grace when you're talking about generalities. For me, tonight, what I'm going to list is that I had the opportunity to speak with Fuad. That's my one experience of gratitude, you see. So look at the things that you're grateful for at the end of the day and make them very, very, very simple and very present. And I promise you that the formula of clarity, focus, ease, and grace will lead you down your own hero's path towards what you want. It will not fail, because it's all about you taking action that has meaning for you. So, there you have it.
Dr. Maria, there's many things I'm grateful for today, but one that really sticks out is having this conversation with you. I'm so grateful for the word that sticks out of the 4 that most describes you is the word of grace. You have such a beautiful, loving, compassionate energy from the first second we met, just before clicking the record button. And I'm so, so, so grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope to talk to you someday soon.
Of course, again. I would love that. And I want to leave you the space to promote anything you're excited about that people should know.
A number of things. I have my own podcast. It's called The Energy of Money. And I talk about all kinds of things in life, not just about money, as you can imagine. The second thing is that if people are interested in my articles, I write them every other week, and they're designed to be read in 3 or 4 minutes. They can always go to marianeemeth.com. That's MariaNeemeth.com. If they want to reach out to me personally, they have to do it through my assistant. Her name is Monica at acecoachtraining.com. And then finally, if they, 2 things, if they want a copy of the Life's Intentions Inventory, please email Monica at acecoachtraining.com and she will send you one. And I just wish for everyone that you live your life with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. If you're interested in learning some of these tools through the academy that I founded, that's Academy for Coaching Excellence, you can always go on to the Academy website at acecoachtraining.com and look at our introductory course that so many people take, whether or not they want to become a coach. We do train coaches using the philosophy that I've been talking to you about. Mm-hmm. But if you're interested in just checking us out for our introductory course that everyone takes, whether they want to be a coach or not, go on to acecoachtraining.com and look for our course. It's called, Mastering Your Life. That's it. And they'll love it. And I'll get a chance to see them because it's on Zoom. So I just want to thank you for your generosity.
Thank you. I'm going to put all the links, all the relevant links below so they can have direct access to it. And as a summary, I hope that everyone that watched this got value on how to become more successful with the definition of Dr. Maria Neemeth, which means doing what you said you would do consistently with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. These 4 words are blessed. And when I read them, I was like, yeah, this is how I want to live my life. So thank you so much, Dr. Maria. And I wish you all the best.
Great. Thank you, sir.